I'd like to share my experience with the MS hug. It's pretty much constant. I don't know if that's because my lesions are more spinal cord than brain, but it's there all the time in some shape or form. It sometimes is as sudden and painful as if my bottom rib on each side, left and right, has been snapped off or broken. It's a really sharp, digging, burning pain. And other times it's more corset-like, the traditional MS hug definition of being like that. It moves too, so it is not consistently in exactly the same place, and it can take my breath away. It has changed how I breathe when I'm speaking. I speak a lot for my job, so that's, for me, something I guess I've noticed an adaptation over time in the way that I take in breaths so that I've got enough in there to speak. I think it's the impact that the MS hug is having on my diaphragm, and therefore squeezing or constricting to the extent that a thoughtless breath of just breathing in casually is not going to give me enough to get through a sentence. So the impact of it is physical, feeling it more widely, I suppose, in my system. And psychologically, I guess, tiring. It's boring, and I'd like to have a period of time without it being there.
To me, the MS hug feels like I'm wearing a bra that's about 3 sizes too small, and it's just really, really tight band round my chest. It's not something I've experienced a lot and hasn't lasted very long, but really isn't a very pleasant experience. I also do get really tight bands around the top of my arms. I'm not sure whether that's an MS thing that happens a bit more often, and it just feels like a really tight elastic band around my arm. Fortunately, I don't experience it often, but it's just another symptom you get used to.
MS hug, the weirdest of symptoms. It's relatively recent for me, sort of 4 or 5 years. Comes and goes in from months apart, then a few attacks. No idea of the trigger. To me, it feels like a metallic, because there really is a metallic feel to it, straitjacket right round my ribs. Not quite the heart attack that I've heard people describing it as in other MS hug videos and texts, but I certainly feel short of breath. I can't give any advice as to how to deal with it. The only positive is that it does go away, sometimes for me in minutes, sometimes in hours. It's a really unpleasant feeling, but it doesn't last. So hang in there.
The first time I felt the MS hack, I felt, I didn't even know I had MS. So it was quite scary. Everything started with feeling like someone was grabbing under my ribs, like squeezing it. But I thought it was from exercising, so I didn't think much about it. But after like 3-4 days, I started to feel like someone was tightening a belt under my chest and pulling it. And that's what the scary part was, because again, I didn't know I had MS, and I didn't even know that the concept of MS hack existed. So I couldn't have deep breaths. I felt like I couldn't stretch my ribs. I couldn't bend on the sides, let alone exercising. Until one night, I couldn't even fall asleep because it got, I wouldn't say painful, but like some discomfort. And I ended in the ER room. They thought it might be an anxiety attack, so they gave me some tablets for that. It didn't really work, obviously. And then that's how I went to the neurologist, and I got diagnosed and some steroids to help. But obviously, steroids don't help immediately. So I realized that the stress was making the feeling worse. So I since I was in uni, sitting on the floor, I found that relaxed me a lot. So while I was suffering the MS hug, I was lying down on the floor and putting my legs up. And I don't know if it was from the connection that that's a situation that helped me with anxiety, or also the fact that I was like in a stable, flat surface. So that helped me to mitigate the sensation of being squeezed and tight. And slowly it started to disappear. And I haven't got it since then.